Welcome, Cocker fans, to Canadian Custom Cockers. I'm here with another build for a customer. This is a brand new 2021 FreeFlow Lotus that he just wanted to add a few custom touches to. So we got this about half a year ago. I completely disassembled it, every nut and every bolt. And we sent all the parts to get match anode, including the three-way, the LPR, the trigger shoe, and the ASA. And I really must admit that it turned out really nice, and it's a classy touch to this platform. I did, however, ruin the Dye logo on the ultralight airport, and they do not have replacements right now. I will ship one to the customer when that becomes available, but otherwise this thing is ready to rock. You're not going to get a shooting video from me today because it's minus cold as balls out in the frigid north of Canuckland. So you're going to get a trigger pull measurement is what you're going to get. So we're sitting at 1 3/4 pounds. Let's do it again just to be sure. Maybe a little less than that, 1 3/4 I'm going to call it. I'm not 100% satisfied with that personally, but I literally can't make it any better. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that FreeFlow and myself have two very differing philosophies when it comes to how an autococker is built. I don't think they necessarily do things wrong. The gun came shooting 300 feet per second out of the box. You could really rip on it, but it's just not the way I like to do things, and my customers pay for me to build the gun. If they want Buddy Bauer to build the gun, they can send it back and pay him to do it. I don't think he's going to do it for free anymore. The warranty's probably been voided with the re-anodizing, but he's a good guy. I'm sure if you gave him a text on Facebook or whatever, he would work with you. If you're ever in this situation. With all that in mind, for you US-based customers, you got to understand that the customer is located in Canada, I'm located in Canada, and the anodizer is a Canadian-based anodizer. Shout out to Tyler Fair at Aesthetic Metal Finishing. You really killed it on this one. So for shipping reasons alone, it seemed to make sense to the customer to just keep this north of the border, and that's what we went with. So with that being said, Jeff, you're just going to have to trust me that I chronographed this. It's shooting right around 305 feet per second. I'll send you a message on how to lower it if you need to lower it once it gets to you, but you're at a lower elevation than I am, so I'm hoping that it'll end up being perfect for you. You can really rip on this thing. Some things that I did a little differently. Because we were getting it anodized, I went ahead and shaved the back block in this area right here. I shaved it up a little bit to increase the gap between the back block and the body. I notice sometimes if you have it milled perfectly horizontal with the body and you don't have that little extra space, with a little bit of wiggle like this, it can start clipping the body and damaging it. So I got that figured out for him before I sent it to Ano. Obviously, the pneumatics had to be rebuilt anyway, so I went ahead and polished the flat faces of the LPR and subsequently the HPR piston and the spring specifically. The spring will... the theory is if it's vibrating back and forth during adjustment or during recharge, that the spring wants to spin a little bit every time. And if all that force that wants to make it spin can't be transferred into spinning it, it has to be transferred somewhere else. And that usually goes against the piston and doesn't allow it to recharge as fast. So if you reduce the friction of the spring naturally wanting to spin every shot, it really helps with recharge rate, and there was a noticeable difference with this gun, and I'm quite happy with that. I replaced a few things on this gun. So I'm just gonna place it on my handy dandy Cocker Tech Mat thing from AKA Paintball. Everything in this container is what I replaced. We're going to start with the most important thing that pretty much everybody with a FreeFlow, in my opinion, should do. And they have since changed their philosophy on how to manufacture these trigger plates. This used to be just a dusted anodized aluminum. Obviously, dust isn't as smooth as it could be if it was polished. So now they have the one that I installed here. It's the black nickel coating that they have on it, and it's a significant difference. I highly recommend that. Some things that went along that, though, is I replaced the glide screws. They used brass tipped. I don't think with a coated trigger plate that's very conducive to longevity. So I replaced these with nylon tipped screws. I also replaced their hammer lug. With this lug, they were required to round the tip of their sear a little bit on a like a sanding apparatus, and I didn't really like how it interacted after I resprung everything. Speaking of respringing everything, I ended up using the FreeFlow sear spring. I think that's really good, but I replaced their trigger return spring. That was just a preference thing. I always replace every bolt that I can with stainless steel counterparts. So I have stainless steel jam nuts or valve retention nuts that I replace on all my customer builds. It just makes it more rust proof. Same with the Vasa bolt and the plug for the bottom of the front block here. One thing I will mention that FreeFlow really does well is they make sure that their plug for the bottom of this front block is flushly mounted, and not a lot of other builders do that, and that drives me freaking nuts. So kudos to them on making sure that that is installed in a way that's not going to hurt your fingers if that's where your fingers are riding. And then I put a nylon tipped version of this screw between the frame and the ASA to secure the ASA, and that's just a preference thing. Then you don't mar up all this anodizing. I know it's not visible, and it should be locked in a little better with metal on metal contact of this particular cupped set screw, pardon me. If you put enough grunt behind it, that nylon tip mushes out and really creates a nice grab on this without marring the underside of the ASA. So that's what I did. And then something else that I did is I replaced the fittings from the ASA and the HPR. These are really, I think they're really high quality fittings that Dye or FreeFlow is producing or including with their produced parts. However, they're really long. And the ones from Inception that you can get from Inception are slightly shorter. And in doing that, it allows you, especially from this one, to make that bend with your macro line a lot more gradual and gentle. And it makes taking the frame off and stuff while teching or taking the HPR off if you need to lube it up or whatever. It makes everything go easier. And so that's what I did. The thing just wants to make the trigger plate explode to the rear when the sear finally drops. I think Jeff's really going to like it. I would fully expect him to let me know if he doesn't. This being a not as complete video in that regard, I'm hoping that his trust in me is not wavered once he gets this and really rips on it and puts it through his paces. So with that being said, that's just how I built this Cocker up. Oh, I also put O-rings on all the barrels because then it locks them in. That's probably more of a Dye thing. I don't know why they don't include that, but you know, little touches make big differences sometimes. That's Jeff's build. I'm going to be shipping it to him later today. I really hope he enjoys it. Have a good one, guys.